Postman used to say that with every new technology, there's always winners and losers. Somebody always benefits and somebody always is disadvantaged. And the questions are around who, and serving what purpose. There is this general sort of sense that the new is always better, better for everybody, and that advancement is good and progress is preferable, and there's always a calculation in technological progress. There's this old story, which you may or may not have heard in detail, but you've probably heard the term Luddite. Someone's a Luddite, they don't think much of technology, and sometimes Luddite is used as a kind of pejorative term. You Luddite, meaning you don't want to get up to speed, something wrong with you, you're not sharp enough to keep up, you're a foot dragger, you don't believe in advancing the cause of civilization. The Luddites were a group of folks who resisted the printing press. They did so because they did copying and manuscripts and made stuff by hand, and it was their living. And the printing press put them out of business, period. And their families would starve and their homes wouldn't be paid for, and so they picked up printing presses and threw them through the windows. So they were Luddites. From there on after, we began to think of people who opposed technology as some kind of rabble-rouser. But, they had a pretty good reason to want to get rid of them suckers. It didn't help them. Right? The issue is, who controls it, and to whose benefit, and do you get you always get a different distribution of power and authority. The question is, do you understand what it is, where it comes from, and what it does, or has it kind of gotten past you such that you don't understand it at all? I'll give you just a sort of, as we go by, kind of another sort of touch. I think I may have mentioned this in here already, but when mass media first started, television first started, one of the things that happened in this country, didn't happen as much overseas, in this country, the networks got the idea, and the big production companies got the idea of funding research about television. The television industries and the advertising guys got together and gave money to universities, big dollars, to universities like Michigan State, to start mass comm programs, to study how to persuade people. So while, I did mention this because it connects to Williams. So while in the UK, the comm scholars were doing critical media studies, saying, what the F are these people doing to us and our culture with this mass media stuff? In America, our scholars were saying, let's see, how do you persuade people? Doing the work of the industries, because they've been paid with research grants to do the work of the industries. Now, they didn't realize that that's what was happening to them. They didn't realize that they were being manipulated by the industries. They thought, God, we're trying to figure out a way to fund programs. All of a sudden, comm is central. We're getting grant money just like everybody else. Whoa! These comm people don't ever get grant money. So, and then they ended up building big mass comm programs out of it. Okay. What they didn't realize was, so you guys have a similar piece. You want to get involved in interactive media. Good for you. Bunch of damn spies. Surveillance types. Because all you're going to end up doing the rest of your career is collecting data about me so you can do targeted marketing. Did you intend to get into the surveillance business when you said, I want to be a web designer or a game designer? Probably not. But that's what those businesses are about. Right? well, not altogether, but there's a control aspect in there. And the question is, the questions are, do we understand it? Who does it advantage? You know. So initially, and you read this in the book, there was this inclination to think that computer-mediated communication was going to democratize. And to a degree it has. There are aspects in which there is a democratizing set of forces at work. There are aspects of connectivity in terms of people who can communicate in the system that couldn't communicate before. And of course that also depends which country you're in. It isn't more democratic in China. And it isn't more democratic even in our country if you don't have access. Go back to the digital divide, then the democratic thing kind of breaks down. But there are aspects that that indicate participation. But we thought, the great Greek polis might come back. There was this thinking that maybe there would be participation, right? And it would be broad. And the reality hasn't altogether matched expectations. The Pew Project for American Life, research on the internet and American life is pretty good with this stuff. This is from September. I want to read just the findings pieces. I'll be skipping a lot as we go, but this is the findings on civic engagement. Just as in offline politics, the well-off and well-educated are especially likely to participate in online activities that mirror offline forms of engagement, but there are hints that social media might alter this pattern. So, they do the research in 2009, and the answer is CMC does not in any way privilege democratic participation unless you're wealthy. Okay. Which probably isn't what we intended when we meant democratic participation. Will be more broadly distributed, right? But there's a hint in here. So let me read you we'll just grab the highlighted findings in the first 9 pages here. Whether they take place on the internet or off, traditional political activities remain the domain of those with high levels of income and education. Now, there's nothing wrong with the educated and the wealthy participating in politics. They're citizens too, after all. But online hasn't shifted that participation, or the amount of participation, right, to people who aren't, okay, generally speaking. There are hints that forms of civic engagement anchored in blogs and social networking could alter long-standing patterns that are based on socioeconomic status. And the data here says, there's a little more participation, it's a little more broadly distributed, hasn't really broken through to ground level politics yet, but it's sort of a hint. Those who use blogs, social networking sites as an outlet for civic engagement are far more active, traditional realms of political and non-political participation than are other internet users. So the people who were active can use this stuff to be more active. Right? In addition, they are even more active than those who don't use the internet at all. Okay. So it doesn't, maybe it's almost like the long tail. It's not so much up at the ends, but it really is up in the middle. The internet is now part of the fabric of everyday life, everyday civic life. Half of those who are involved in political community group communicate with each other, with other group members using digital tools. So people who are involved really do use this stuff. And that's, there can be some spread there. Okay, there can be a little bit of diffusion from those people out a little bit, maybe. But right now, it's the people who are already involved. Okay. Those who make political donations are more likely to use the internet to make their contributions than those who make charitable contributions. However, large political donations are much less likely to be made online than large charitable donations. The donation patterns are a little bit funky. We also have a little trouble with who makes political donations and then who they actually vote for. That's not lined up very well yet. But we have seen that folks are willing to make political contributions online, en masse, lots of folks, right? Small amounts, generally, and that can be a useful strategy for politicians. You know, Obama raised more money than anybody had ever raised online in the history of politics so far. And it's been building, right? We don't think it was just Obama because it's been building every 2 and 4 years. So there's money to be made there, and that's part of our political process. Right? It's not the only part, but it is part. It does count. Okay? I'll put this up so you can look at the charts and such. I'll make it available to you. So this is an article called Athens on the Grid. I'm going to find a spot here that illustrates this. There's a lively debate in progress about what some call Government 2.0. One camp sees in the Internet an unprecedented opportunity to bring Athenian-style direct democracy. The vision is captured in a recent British documentary, Us Now, which paints a future in which every citizen is connected to the state as easily as to Facebook, choosing policies, questioning politicians, collaborating with neighbors. Can we all govern? The movie asks at the outset. Of course, is the answer. The people in this camp point to information technology's aid to grassroots movements from Moldova to Iran. They look at India, where voters can now access, via text messaging, information on the criminal records of parliamentary candidates, in Africa, where cell phones are improving election monitoring. They note the ease of extending reliable scientific and scholarly knowledge to a broad audience. They observe how the Internet and democratizing access to facts and figures encourages politicians and citizens alike to base decisions on more than hunches. But their vision of Internet democracy is part of a larger cultural evolution toward the expectation that we will be consulted about everything, all the time. Increasingly, the best articles to read are the most emailed ones. The music worth buying belongs to singers who have just text voted their into stardom. The next book to read is one bought by other people who bought the last book you did. The media that once reported to us now publish whatever we tweet. In this new age, our consent is gathered every few minutes, not every few years. Another camp sees the Internet less rosily. Its members tend to be enthusiastic about the web and enthusiastic about civic participation, but they're skeptical of the Internet as a panacea for politics. They worry that it creates a falsely reassuring illusion of equality, openness, universality. We live in an age of democratic experimentation, both in our official institutions and in many informal ways in which the public is consulted. Many methods and technologies can be used to give voice to the public will, but some give a picture of public opinion as if it is through a funhouse mirror. So, it's not settled, clearly, right? And the way that political power, for example, works in this environment is not well established. We talked last time about this notion that computer-mediated communication does not apparently break down organizational hierarchies. The world might be getting flat, but authority probably isn't. Even more than I think we expected because of the surveillance potential in new media. The surveillance potential is every bit as strong as the potential for communicating with others. It isn't too extreme to say that we really misunderstood the information revolution. Okay? The information revolution appeared at first glance to be about us, the users, being able to get information. That the web would connect us to all the knowledge. That's what the information revolution, and you can read and read and read about the information revolution being that direction. We get access to information. And that's No more what Web 2.0 is about than television is about bringing you good programming. Remember, television is about collecting eyes to sell to advertisers. Web 2.0 is about collecting information about us to sell to marketers. And the sooner the culture realizes it, the quicker we'll sort of wake up. And we still really haven't woke up over television. It's a little bit scary. CMC can allow a lot more unknown observation. There's an asymmetry between message sender and receiver that we did not expect. Right? We knew television, radio, magazines, print, mass media was one to many. We knew that. Didn't fully understand what that meant, but we knew it was. We never thought it was the television talking to me. Right? That would be silly. They're not little people in there, even though I thought they were when I was little. You might have as well. But we did think that new media was all pulled, tailored. You know, how many times have you signed a checkbox saying, yes, you can collect data on me, and then the explanation is, we want to personalize the web experience for you so that you get the services and experience that you would most like. Nana, nana, boo, boo, you're sure an idiot. I mean, I don't know why the banner doesn't come up and sing the song. If you believe this, you are stupid. I mean, it's, you know, we're going to collect that data about you and sell it to somebody. We're going to aggregate it so that that pulled experience we can get money from somebody else for. And we can take that huge database and we can trade it with folks. Because that's what the information revolution is about.